Hello, hello, and welcome, or should I say ho, 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 Christmas cousins? I'm Cousin Chad. Oh my gosh, where's Cousin Seth? Well, fear not, everybody. We have another cousin standing in for Cousin Seth today. Joe, the Christmas aficionado, welcome back on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
So I
Se-
guess Seth is on his date, right?
Seth is on his big date today, so he had the day off. He needed the day to primp. He's at the spa. He's getting his nails done, everything that you would do, a facial. So he's getting ready. I said, Seth, just don't worry about it. We're in good hands with Joe here. You are a Christmas expert of sorts. On YouTube, you can find Joe on Christmas Aficionado. If you can spell it, you can find it. That's their tagline, or should be maybe. And
It should be.
Joe is here to introduce our new series. Now, Joe, you are our number one returning guest. And I figured you'd be perfect to kick off this new series called My Favorite Christmas Ever, the Christmas Chronicles. This is number one, where we're going to discuss, kind of take a trip through memory lane. We are months and months away from Christmas right now. So I want people to kind of get that Christmas vibe, feel like we can encapsulate it and revisit it and relive it a little bit, even though we're heading into spring. So, and I know you have some really great thoughts and Christmas memories. So this is going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Are you ready to take a trip back in time?
I am. I'm ready to go
Nice.
back.
All right.
Back.
Well, this is a back in time. All right. Get your DeLorean up to, what is it, 80 miles an hour? You probably
88.
know, I'm sure. 88. Okay. Let's hop in and we're going to go right back. So let's kick it off right from the bat here. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Your favorite Christmas ever. What year is your favorite Christmas ever?
So I don't know if I can necessarily pick out a favorite specific year, but I think obviously growing up there. Let's take a step back a second. There's a couple phases in life that a person has. I'm 40 something years old.
Hmm.
There's my childhood Christmases. There's the Christmases with my wife when we got married, and then I had a kid. So all three of
Right.
those are three different phases, and they're all different. So, but I'm
Interesting.
gonna I'm gonna focus, I think, just
Okay.
on my childhood ones because I think those are the
Yeah.
ones that I think a lot of people remember. You're a kid, so that's when Christmas is really special. When you're an adult, you look at it, it's fine. You have family and you look at if you have kids, you watch them celebrate in there. So you're looking at it in a different eye. But both,
Yes, it's more
yeah,
vicarious as an adult. When you're a kid, it's you. It's all about you from your perspective. So I like that you're choosing a childhood one. And that's a great point because we do have different phases throughout our lives with it. There will be one point where you're a grandfather looking at it as well. So, but we're going to
not
go back.
hopefully not for a while.
That's right. I hope so. But we're going to go back. So, what year are we talking, Joe?
So I would say it's probably 84 through 88 is probably the years that, I remember the most. Those are the years that
Okay.
I really had a lot of fun. Like there's different Christmas presents that you get those years. So I think mid 80s and again, I don't want to say a specific one because there's a lot of similarities between the different Christmases every year. And I know
Right.
that's throwing a monkey wrench into your what's your best Christmas ever, but I think truth be told, I think it's probably those few years in there is the ones I remember the most. Like I don't
Okay.
remember a lot of the earlier ones. I was born in 1975, so in 84 I was about 9 years old. So 9 through, 12, 13, that those are years that, I think you really remember and you really recall. And there's moments in each one of those that you're going, oh, great. But like I said, there's a lot of similarities. So I think a lot of your questions are going to probably be answered by the same year. And I think it's
Okay.
just the presents you get, the
I like that.
gifts.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
an amalgam of years that are make a composite picture of your favorite Christmas ever. When you look back at Christmas, it's not like 84, it's all these years and the vibes overall from all of them. And I think that's great. That's a good way to do it then. So
Yeah.
good. Okay. So paint us a picture then. What is the setting? Where were you spending these magical holidays?
So I'm going to have to break. I'm going to break the mold for a lot of people, and maybe it's a lot of people celebrate the same way, but pretty much all the years that I've had Christmas has always been, obviously with my parents. Um, we always get together. I have two brothers. We all get together, do the same. It's almost the same
Older
thing.
brothers, or what's your
No,
birth order?
I'm the oldest of three. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I have two younger brothers. We always get together, at Christmas. Um, I don't think there's been ever a time where we've not done the same thing. We
Oh
don't,
wow.
yeah, we don't go away. We don't have never gone on vacation at Christmas. It's always just celebrating with family, usually with my parents.
Okay.
Nowadays we do other things and stuff, but we always end Christmas morning is always at my parents' house.
Okay, so let's picture the atmosphere then. So this is taking place in the Pittsburgh area. You always were there and always grew up there?
Pretty much, yeah. My dad was a minister, and so we would always have to do, a number of church services and stuff the night before, and so I think, by the time my dad has done all his things in December, Christmas Day is like the day he finally gets off. you know,
Right, right. He's like
you
Santa of the day after.
exactly essentially is it's exactly what it is. He would be that time of year for him was always so busy and he was running everywhere so that by the
Are you
time you had
sure?
Christmas morning.
Are you sure it wasn't a hidden Santa like Christmas Under Wraps, the Hallmark movie
Merry
where
Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
No, I'm pretty sure that he was doing his minister duties and not actually being Santa or anything, but
sure,
he
sure, a likely story, but go on, whatever works.
yeah,
Keep the
so
magic.
like I said, I think that's why we always had the same Christmases. It was always the same thing,
Right.
and clear and because he was a minister, we moved around a lot, around the Pittsburgh area. I probably moved 5 or 6 times before I graduated high school.
Wow.
So yeah, so when the year what this won't give anything away because it's been so long ago, but there was a small town just south of Pittsburgh that we used to live in, and we uh, we would stay there. We would be we were there for a few years, and that's probably where most of these memories take place.
Okay.
Was there? Mhm.
Garland, Pennsylvania. Is that what the town?
No,
No.
it's a small town called Elizabeth, Pennsylvania.
Elizabeth.
Yes,
Well, that's
Elizabeth,
Elizabeth
Pennsylvania.
for you. Okay. So
Yes.
that's where your Christmas magic memories. So, okay. So tell us the sights, the sounds, the smells. Did you get white Christmases? Were there different food baking? How were the decorations? Bring us back. Let's really try to paint the picture so we could feel this.
So, it's Western Pennsylvania. It usually snows quite a bit. Not always in December, but most of the time you usually do have some sort of snow on the ground around that
Okay.
time. So I kind of remember always uh, a lot of snow for Christmas in those years.
So
Um,
white Christmas was the norm for you.
Pretty much, and it can be very drastic. 1 year, 2 years ago, I think here it was like almost 80 degrees. So it
Wow.
can, yeah, it can fluctuate quite a bit. It just depends on, I guess, the year. But I remember these times being having a lot of snow on the ground. I remember that we would have um, we would have a very simple Christmas Eve. So we in the before we would go to bed, we would often have to go to church because that was my dad's. I had to go watch. It had to be a good preacher family,
Right.
so I would have to have to
It
go
would
to
have been
church.
weird if you skipped it, that would have been weird for sure.
Yeah, back then, yeah. Then if I have to conform to. I always had to conform to the perfect little boy as the preacher kid,
Right. Right.
And so we would come home. Often, my mom had baked cookies.
Oh.
Like the couple days before, she always made the same cookies. She still makes the same cookies now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's
And what kind
it's
of cookies?
she always makes these ones with like this, and I don't remember. There's kind of like a raspberry. It's got like a raspberry jelly center. It has like a little bit of an
Oh.
icing on top of it. I don't know what they're called. She used to make pizzelles a lot. Those were
Is that
often
a
things.
Linzer? A Linzer cookie, perhaps?
Maybe, maybe.
Okay.
Um, and then she also used to make a lot of M&M cookies. Like we always loved
Mm,
the M&M cookies, and so I clearly remember always eating cookies that night. Uh, but we would also just sit around the living room. My dad would often be given a number of presents from all the clergy, all of
the
the
congregants?
congregants. Yes, thank you. And so we would sit and he would open those, and we would, a lot of times it was food. So we always got lots of different foods and stuff. So that was always unique.
Right.
But we also, the one thing I remember watching every Christmas Eve, because this is
Yeah.
before cable. So this is no, we didn't have cable back then. There's like 13 channels you had. We would watch on PBS, WQED. We would watch Christmas Eve on Sesame Street. It
Huh.
was a special from the late 70s,
Okay.
where uh, Oscar the Grouch convinced Big Bird that Santa wasn't coming because they didn't have a chimney for him to go down.
Oh,
Because
no.
yeah, so because if you remember, if it's Sesame Streets, and it takes place in New York,
Right.
not all these places had chimneys, and the chimney and essentially was a pipe that came out of the roof as a way to obviously exhaust whatever the furnace was burning. So
Right.
Big Bird became very paranoid about how uh, Santa was going to come visit him, because and
Hmm.
Oscar would of course feed into his fears, and we would watch this, and this, it was a fun thing, because it was always them trying to, Big Bird trying to figure these things out. And then there was other stories that went with it, with Bert and Ernie doing the gift of the
Yes.
Magi. So it was always a fun thing that they always showed on Christmas Eve. So I remember
Huh.
clearly
Okay.
watching that night.
So you watched that, right? So that was on. Obviously, you couldn't pause, you couldn't get up, you had to
Nope.
watch it or you missed something. Okay. Sounds like you need to cover this on your show, by the way.
Oh, I
So,
plan on eventually.
oh, good. I'm surprised you haven't. Okay. So, all right. So you're watching this. Is your house, were you guys into a lot of decorations? Is it like overly decorated, moderate, a little bit? Because I know, your dad was
It
busy.
was, yeah, it was very moderate. It was,
Okay.
we would have one tree. We only, back then I don't think people had more than one tree.
Right.
And we would probably decorate it a week or two before. Most of the decorations were handmade by us kids.
Oh, wow.
My mom
And you
and
do
my
that to
mom.
this day. You still make
Uh,
handmade decorations with your outside cutouts, your wooden cutouts that you do
I
of
do,
Peanuts
yeah,
characters.
but these days I buy my Christmas tree decorate ornaments.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but I actually still have. My mom gave them to me when we moved out of the house and all the kids were gone. She's decided that her tree now is completely different from what it used to look like.
Oh,
So
no.
she gave us all these old ornaments that we made. So I actually have like an ornament that has my picture on it, that I decorated with glitter, and it says Joey on it, because that's what I everyone called me, Joey, back then.
The kids
So
didn't call you the Christmas aficionado when you were in elementary school?
not yet, not yet. No, I
Okay.
was not known as the Christmas aficionado in elementary school.
Not till middle
But
school.
yeah, but that was what our tree was mostly decorated, was a lot of handmade ornaments. My mom had three kids, so we
Right.
were, every year we would, in school you would make a whole bunch of ornaments, and then she would keep everything.
Wow.
And then there was like moderate stuff around the house, like there. I think there was probably a nativity set. I don't really remember that all that much, but there's probably garland hanging from things and stuff like that.
Okay.
Um,
Did you
so
have music, a special album that you always played? I know my
no,
wife's family, they had like a Johnny Mathis album that was every year they had to play it.
no, not really.
Okay.
Christmas music is, for me, has always been something that I listen to, but I hear a lot of people talking about how they worship and love everything about it. And I listen to it. I have no problem with it, but there's never been an album where I go, this is the greatest Christmas album ever. Because I don't
Right.
think we really grew up with listening to specific albums.
Okay.
But there probably was something playing at some point. So
Gotcha. Okay, right. You probably didn't even notice it. It was just part of the background. So take me to Christmas morning itself, during this amalgam of these different years. What is the first thing, if you have any memory, when you woke up? So you wake up, boom, you realize, oh my gosh, it's Christmas morning. What are you doing? You're in your pink bunny suit, I assume.
no, not yet, not yet. But I do remember waking up, really early. Like that's a given. I think all kids did that. And I remember, I had to share a room with my middle brother, and him and I would wake up and just sort of like hang out and okay, what time can we go downstairs, to open gifts, and the anticipation was always there. So
Right.
you're
Oh, so you
waiting.
would wait till they woke up. You, Peter, and Bobby would all wait until everybody was awake, and then you'd
Yeah,
run downstairs. Okay.
I think my brothers will love that they're called Peter and Bobby. I think that that works out good. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, we weren't allowed to go downstairs until my parents said we were ready. And this
Okay.
is a tradition that something that my dad started, uh, that I do now with my kid. He goes down and he would turn on the tree lights. He would actually put on Christmas music, but it'd probably be on whatever on the radio that day, because we didn't really have
Right.
like a record player to play stuff and stuff. But and so he would everything ready. So when it is time for us to come down, the lights are on and it's got that magical moment. And so we would do that. But he would of course take his dear old time, because he would hear him making coffee, and it's like,
Ah.
okay. Yeah. So like I clearly remember all those times where it's just like, okay, when could we go down? And then eventually he would say, come on down, and we would all
Oh,
run
cool.
down.
Okay.
Yeah, you all run down the stairs, and
Merry Christmas. Ho,
exactly.
ho,
And you
ho,
kind of
ho,
see the
ho,
haul that you
ho.
got, and you're like, wow, yeah,
Right.
the one thing that my parents did, like, they didn't have a ton of money. Being a minister, you don't make a ton of money. And my mom actually wasn't working at the time. She was just helping raise the kids. So uh, they splurged on us at Christmas. Like they went
Okay.
all out on Christmas. We didn't get a lot of gifts throughout the year, but man, when on Christmas morning, you can guarantee you that, there would be presents everywhere.
Well,
Uh,
this is what I wanted to get to. This
yeah,
is perfect. So you got a lot of presents, but were there some memorable ones that really stood out when you look back now? You're like, oh, and knowing you collect all these things. You may still have them or have gotten them later.
I do have most of the stuff that I treasured.
Oh, wow.
There, so there's four things I clearly remember getting for Christmas.
Okay.
The first thing, and this is probably like 83, 84, was the
Okay.
Millennium Falcon action set.
Oh, oh yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good one. That's a good find for back then. Do you still have that? The
I
original?
still have it. I do. I still have
That's
my
worth
original
a
one.
million dollars.
Not really, because it's it's been well played with over the years, but I do still have it. I don't have all the pieces with it. It's
Okay.
yellow now. It used to be pure white, but this plastic and stuff all yellows these days.
Right.
But that was one of the biggest presents I always wanted.
Nice.
And
Okay.
that same year, my middle brother, I guess we'll call him Peter, he also he also got a Millennium Falcon, because we're three brothers, but we don't share. I
Oh yeah,
mean,
right. That would have been broken day one, fighting
yeah.
over it.
And my mom, and we're all, him and I were both the Star Wars fan. My youngest brother, he liked
Bobby.
Star Wars, but yeah, Bobby, he he was too young, I think, for a lot of that stuff until he got a little bit older. But
Right.
my mom, knowing that we would fight over a Millennium Falcon, got us each one. So we both had a
Smart.
Millennium
Yes.
Falcon. Yeah. So
Or you each would have had one half of a Millennium Falcon. That's how it would have worked. I know
Pretty
I have
much,
an
yeah.
older brother myself. Yeah, that's what would have
Yeah.
happened.
So
So,
you
so
can't fight it. Yep.
so you got that. What is one other gift besides the Millennium Falcon? I'm sure there are a number of them, but was there another one that you're just like, oh my gosh, that's yeah.
So this was something I actually just picked up recently. This is 1987. This is the year that I remember this one. And I actually did a Christmas memory about this not too long ago. Was laser tag. If you remember laser tag.
Yes, I had that set. Yeah.
Yes.
Where
And
you wore the
so,
chess piece and you would shoot at each other.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I clearly remember that was the year we all wanted that. We all wanted laser tag. We all, even my youngest brother, we all wanted to get our own gun and the sensor, chest sensor and everything. And we
Right.
did get it, and we each got one. I
Mhm.
think if I remember right, I think my uncle, my 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 uncle got us those for Christmas that year, because
Oh,
there was
cool.
my uncle would always he would always spoil us crazy as well. He would buy, like, he would always he would always be the one that would get us the really big gift that we would want,
Right.
and so he came and he gave us a laser tag set. I clearly remember when we did get it. My mom and grandmother gave us all the batteries and everything that goes with it. We had a big giant laser tag fight that day that lasted 20 minutes because those batteries sure did die very quickly. Yes.
Yeah.
And after that, batteries back then, well, they're still expensive now, but even back in the 80s, it was super expensive to keep up batteries. Those things take 6 double A's per
Oh my
gun,
gosh.
and a
And there's no
9
stores open on Christmas. You can't get more if you didn't have them. You
no,
had to
no.
wait.
So, I don't think they all had batteries at any other time other than Christmas Day.
Right.
And so, because you would go around, you would steal the remote batteries or wherever you could find
Right.
batteries to
Right.
try to get to get this. But yeah, but a few weeks ago, and I put it on my Instagram, I was at a toy show and a guy was selling a laser tag gun and sensor. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I bought that. I got that for $10, which I was ecstatic about. And
Whoa.
it works perfectly. It's the exact same set. It's got everything. And I was just so happy. So right now
Oh
it's
my
on
gosh. That's
display. Yeah, it's on display in my toy cupboard that I have over here. One day we'll have to do a live and I'll have to show you everything that's in my toy cupboards. But
yeah, that's a great idea, actually. That would
yeah,
be fun. We can
um,
bring the laser tag to Christmas Con if I can make it there, and we could just play,
we
right
could
outside the Edison
go get
Center.
yours. Yeah, well, I'm sure they
Okay.
won't mind us bringing in these fake guns.
No. Breaking a
um,
few things.
Yeah, but that was probably laser tag was the one I remember quite a bit. I mean, there
Okay.
was all sorts of other ones of like Optimus Prime and Lego sets that you wanted. I even think I think we got the Super Nintendo for Christmas
Oh,
one year,
nice.
so
Yeah.
like this is what I remember most about Christmas is the things that you got, the presents that you got. Because like I said, all of my Christmases were almost exactly the same and are still pretty much the same now.
Wow. Well, what did you do the rest of the day after the gift giving frenzy?
So there's a lot of time. My grandparents would always come over
Okay.
and visit. We had one grandmother lived with us, and then my mom's parents would come and come sometime in the afternoon with my uncle and spoil us more with more presents.
Nice.
And then of course my grandfather would sit there all day long putting our presents together. You would get like these GI Joe sets or these other things that we wouldn't be able to put together, but they would have to put together for us. And so
Oh,
it was
yeah.
it would be a big thing of like toys, putting toys together and then just playing all day. Like that was
Oh,
what I remembered. And then we would always have a Christmas dinner that night.
okay.
My mom's always made turkey, and it was pretty much a Thanksgiving dinner at Christmas. It was the same stuff. And I clearly remember, not wanting to eat because you want to just play for toys. And
Right.
nowadays it's kind of probably the opposite, but
Right.
but Mm-hmm.
Well,
So
now the
yeah,
toys too, it's all Wi-Fi based and it's, not as much generally that you can hold. So much of it's digital that, you wouldn't go 30 years from now. Kids are going to be like, oh, I downloaded a game. It's not like what you had, which is tangible, which is a different experience for sure.
it's very different. Yeah, I mean, even my kid, the stuff we got from my kid, it was never the same. It wasn't the same
Right.
what we got. I think they were a lot more video based,
Right.
type stuff that she even got as a kid. It was just like, oh yeah, this works with the television set, and then you do this,
Right.
or you connect your phone to it or something like that. That's
Right.
not that with that none of that stuff is all we had to have our own imagination and build and play with things with sets as we wanted to.
Which is the same way. Our generation was the same way for the previous 100 years. It was a tangible thing as opposed to now, which is this more
Mhm.
ephemeral, like digital thing that you can't grab. So that's interesting. So as we wrap it up though, so the day winds down. Were there any, you had just had the dinner, right? So there wasn't anything specific to cap off the night, a big pie that you had or anything that everybody's like, oh, this is mom's favorite pumpkin pie or something.
No, I think I think they would always we would have the cookies. Like I said, if she made she makes the same cookies as she does as she did in the 80s as she does now. I think it was mostly just a day to spend together as family,
Right.
having fun. I think those are the days that my brothers and I actually got along, probably
Mhm.
the best because we all had our own new toys to play with. None of us were jealous of somebody else's toys because
Right.
like I said, we got double of everything. um,
Some years
but
triple, I'm sure.
well, probably eventually, I think
Yeah.
so. But and that's what I kind of look for with Christmas for me. Like I mentioned, there's three phases in life. There's the childhood.
Well,
There was when I
well,
got
Joe,
married
let's
and
get
stuff.
into that. As you're saying that, let's get into this because this ties into
Sure.
my last question, which is what advice from in hindsight do you have for the listeners and especially our beloved festive freshman cousin Seth, who's newer to celebrating it, to make their holidays as unforgettable as yours? It sounds like you're getting into that anyway. And that's my last question. So what are your thoughts there? What advice do you have just to make the memories as unforgettable as the ones you had?
So I think obviously the things that happened when I was a kid, they just automatically seem to be the same things that I do now as an adult. You know,
Right.
um, when my daughter was born, we would have Christmas when she was old enough to remember, know what was going to happen and stuff. I make her stay upstairs. I go downstairs. I turn on the tree. I don't really put on Christmas music because I put on we watch a Christmas Story. We always have that on TV throughout the day. So I do that. Then I make coffee, just like my dad did,
Yeah.
because I have to make sure the coffee is ready. And then she comes down, and my wife reluctantly gets up early and comes down with us, and we watch her open things. And then, it's that same experience, and then the things that my dad did is probably the same things I'm doing now.
Right.
My wife's family and I, she had her traditions and stuff that we sort of brought in together. And I think that's what's going to happen with Seth now once he, gets after they get married here.
Yeah,
This
in a
first
couple months. Yeah,
in a
he and
couple
Mrs.
months, yes.
X. That's right.
You combine you combine family traditions, and then you make your own as well. So like my
Right.
wife and I started making our own, but truth be told, the one thing I hate, I can't understand is when people go away for Christmas, like go on vacation or they go somewhere that's not home. To
Mhm.
me, that would be that doesn't make sense. I would never want to do that. Christmas for me has always got to be home. It's always got to be with your family, and sort of just take it easy for that day.
What I
And
want to do, cousin Seth and I are going to send you and your family to Fiji this year for Christmas to see if you hold steady to that belief and see how that home versus a Fiji trip goes.
I would probably turn that down. Truthfully,
No, I know. I
yeah,
believe you. No, that makes
yeah.
sense because it is that one day a year where home means so much to you, and
Mhm.
being together, there's nothing that would compare to it. So I agree. This year we went away to the mountains ourselves and came back home in time for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So
Yeah,
to have it here, and it is different. It is something special about being in your own home with your stuff, and you have all season to set it up exactly how you want for Christmas morning. So the
exactly.
but I love it. This is sounds like your Christmases were amazing growing up. Obviously, you appreciate them, which is great, and now you get to, continue it with your daughter, with your wife, which makes it even more special too. So, I love that this is now we're in March, and we kind of right now for this past half hour, we lived it and felt a little vicariously like we were there, and got to do it. I really appreciate you sharing your Christmases with us, with me, and the Christmas Cousins community, because that's what it's all about, that Christmas morning. And I hope everybody can learn. Is there anything else you want to, let us know for Christmas coming this year? Any big plans, anything you're saying you've got to make it happen?
So I think, my daughter's getting older now, so it is becoming it's not as I don't want to say it's not as magical, but it's, when she's a kid, there's nothing better than watching her open presents. Now my daughter,
Right.
now she gets clothes and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, great, this is what I wanted," So it becomes
Right.
more of a less magical thing. But I do have nephews that are younger, and I so excited when I get to buy them something that their parents don't want. Like that's how I get
Right.
back at my brother.
Right. Right.
I remember like, and going off on a tangent, but I remember loving to buy boy toys because I had a daughter, so I was always buying things that for the girl stuff, and I love doing that. I'll buy with her whatever she wanted when she was a kid and stuff. But whenever I had nephews, I was like, oh, I get to buy the cool stuff now.
Right.
So my brother hates it when I buy stuff for my nephews that they probably don't want them to have. I bought them a
Right.
lightsabers one year. They just,
Oh no.
my brother was like, oh, they're too young for lightsabers. I always send him pictures of things, and I'm like, oh, I should buy him this, and he's like, please don't, please don't. So
I'm
it's
getting him the
kind of a
bag of
way.
glass.
It's kind of a way to get back at your brother.
Right.
And I'm the cool uncle. I've become the
Right.
cool uncle. I'm the uncle that, the uncle that bought me the laser tag set. I'm the cool uncle that now
Right.
buys them things that, uh, that maybe necessarily their dad would not want them to have, or would probably drive them nuts, which I'm very happy to do. So
Everyone needs that, the one that
yes.
will buy the Red Ryder BB gun because the parents won't. Everyone needs an Uncle Spike, basically.
So
That's what it
so
is. It
that's
comes in. Yeah.
my goal is to always find that special gift that somebody may not know that they want. Like I love doing that. That's my big thing, and I'm always going to continue that route. So
Love it. Awesome. Well, Joe, thank you so much for sharing your magical Christmases as a youth with us for Christmas Chronicles #1, my favorite Christmas ever. Don't forget, check out Joe on YouTube at the Christmas Aficionado. Any big episode coming up that you want to plug before we end it?
I do. I have an episode that I've been working on probably for about 3 months now. I'm just starting to edit it now, so it's probably not going to be out for another 2 weeks or so. But I am doing a new series called "How They Spend Christmas," and this
Wow.
kind of ties to, in with what we were talking about here. I'm going to choose something from pop culture and catalog everything that happens Christmas related to that pop culture thing. So the first one is how Harry Potter spends Christmas. So I am
Wow.
actually going to go through all the Harry Potter movies and books, all the things that happen at Christmas, and kind of catalog it into one video. And I have been planning this for a while. I have 2 or 3 other ones in the works at the same time. So look for that big one coming out, I would say, within the next 2 weeks.
Awesome. Oh, we will definitely check that out. I love that's a great idea. Awesome. Well, crowd, thank you for joining us. You all know. But you can check us out. Check out Joe at Christmas Aficionado on YouTube and Instagram. I'm Cousin Chad. Cousin Seth will be back another time. We'll hear about his big date. Check us out on Instagram at christmascousinspod or christmascousinspod@gmail.com. Joe, thank you again. We really appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.